Hey, welcome to the newest podcast. I got Hugh Kennedy here. It's our number 7, so we're on our 7th edition of the podcast right now. We're going to wrap up today really what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is about the next level college combine that we had. Now, it's been a little bit busy. Hugh's been on some things with the UPSL with his son, but really we've had a good opportunity now to go over what was done the first weekend on that event with all our coaches. So we'll get right into it. And again, if you have any comments or anything else, if you like what we're showing to you, look down below. We're going to put different things in the comments there, so it'll allow you to ask us some questions when the next combine is, and also some of the equipment that we use just in here and how you can grab that. So Hugh, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Anthony. How are you, sir?
It's good to see you. So the next level college combine, it was actually it was a wet weekend there.
Yes.
So we was a little bit worried about whether it was going to get in or not, but it was at the beautiful Gateway Park, so we had all weather facilities. So I couldn't make the very beginning because I had a game that had been rescheduled. So Hugh, let's just start with how you feel that the overall experience between the boys and the girls went.
I believe that the overall experience went pretty well. We had a pretty good showing from the boys. I believe we had 39 players show up for the boys. And the girls, I believe we had 15 girls.
So a little bit low on the girls' side there.
I wish we'd had some more girls.
Now on the boys' side though, didn't we, I think signed up, we never had that many. We had a lot turn up on the day. Was that correct?
Yes, I believe we had nearly almost half show up on that day to sign.
Wow, now, in terms of trying to organise and trying to get, tell the coaches what they got, that's tough.
Yeah.
But by having 39 boys there, that's a great, tremendous result for us. So, well, let's just start with the boys program. So, the coaches that we had at the boys program, let's go through who they were. So, we had a couple of new programs that came out looking immediately for kids. So, we had Paul Quinn College.
Paul Quinn.
So, we had both coaches from there, but we'll talk about the boys right now. So, we had Michael representing Jesus for the boys program. We had Chad from East Texas Baptist University.
Yes, Chad Cox. Yes.
We had Eastfield was for the girls really. We had so what were the other ones we had there? Arlington Baptist, which was Coach Shelby.
Yeah. Then we had Brian Bird
from Arkansas Rich Mountain.
We had
Jacksonville
Junior College was there.
Paris
Junior College was there. Coach Zach Zelmer was there.
Pretty much it. So on the boys' side, we had all of those coaches looking for players. Now I would say, talking to Chad a little bit and Chad's wife afterwards, they were looking for the odd 1 or 2 players because they'd already got their commitment to being a 4-year college pretty much. But I would safely say, talking to those coaches in the afternoon when I got there, they were all like, we need players. They were definitely motivated to see what we had there. So the boys program ran from 9:30 to 12:30 there.
Yes.
How do you feel that went? How do we roll with it? How did the coaches roll?
I think that went really well. We just had the coaches led their own sessions, did what they wanted to do, saw what they wanted to see, and they pretty much took turns, doing this drill or that drill, or let's have them do this, or I want to see them do that. And they just ran them through the paces of what they wanted to see, and I thought it went really well.
So talking to a couple of the coaches when I got there, I wanted to get some kind of feedback as to how other sessions are. They said they get a little bit of both. They get some where they lead it, or they get others where it's led by the organisation. One of the things I think we wanted to get to was, hey, it's you guys, you're the coaches, you get together and do sessions that you want to do, that you want to see for the people that you want on your team, and then let you guys lead with it and we can go from there. Right. So I think there are some positives definitely from that side. And we'll go through what the coaches said afterwards so we can help in making this a better opportunity for our kids around the community to get picked up. So after the boys had been done, there was a bit of time in between the 2 sessions from the 12:30 to the 2 o'clock start for the girls. And this was when you came in, and let's talk a little bit about what you ended up doing and what you wanted to do first.
So this just kind of fell into place, but right as the boys were finishing up, they were all gathered around the field, and the coaches were talking to them. They started going into question and answers, and that's when it started raining. So we all took cover under the awning, and we all gathered there. And I noticed that the coaches were kind of gathered around, and then the players were kind of segmented to themselves away from the coaches. So I made it a point to just go to each player and tell them to, make sure you go shake the coach's hand and have a conversation with each individual coach, and just find out about their school, find out about their program, just ask them any kind of questions that you could. And after I got through I went through all of them, but after I started doing that, I noticed that, once they talked to this coach, and they went to that coach, and then they went to that coach, and they went to that coach. And it was just kind of a carousel, if you will, from players going from one coach to the other. And I thought that was it worked out really good, because the coaches were really going into, explanation of what they're looking for. What are the next steps that you need to do? What part of the process are you in, and where to go to next? And I thought it was really good for the players, because they got to hear straight from the coach of what, I need this, I need this, I need you to do this. And it wasn't coming from a parent, it wasn't coming from, a high school coach or a peer. It was coming right from the horse's mouth of, this is what I need, this is what I want you to do. And I thought it was very, very educational for all of the players involved.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I actually, when I came in for the girls and finished the girls up, they did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Actually, immediately after the session, we had a coach come in, and they all had an opportunity to talk, but they all brought the parents in, they all brought the kids in. I recorded some of that. The audio is not great, but I'm going to see if I can add it to some of this podcast, or even I'll give you a link down below to a separate video of that time spent, so at least you can get some of the ideas of what was being said, some of the questions that were being given by the parents. And this was on the girls' side, because I got there a little bit later, and I think even with Hugh, didn't think about bringing out the camera and recording it at that particular time. So there is some great information from those coaches and from each one of them, because there was 4-year colleges there was junior colleges there was a gamut of what we were looking for these players to be able to be ask questions and know what to expect with each different type of college. So that was the girls, and I think what was really good, again, that was the boys. In the girls' side, when I got there, they were doing the same thing. They were doing the carousel, and I think, again, you're instigating that to try and get them to talk a little bit. I even think they were there for about another hour, just talking and chatting between the two. So I did get there ready for the girls' program. We were a little disappointed on the girls, and the crazy thing was, these coaches, we could have had 60 girls there, seniors, and I bet each one of them would have had a couple of options. Oh. Without a doubt. I mean, it was that much of a need for these girls to find for these coaches to find these girls a home. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And I will say, I'll put some links in down below again, but there's Coach Mackey, there's Coach Shelby, there is a slew of the coaches. They are still looking for senior girls that haven't made a mind up right now. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there watching, or you forwarded this to somebody and it hits somebody that's a senior, haven't made a decision yet, might want to stay local, every one of those coaches are still looking for senior girls to be on their program. So it'd be a great opportunity to even if to message us, and I'll put all that information down below in the comments, so you can feed that back to us.
Even if you're not a senior, if you're a junior, it'd be a good time to, because it's 12 months away. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll be in the same spot, so it'd be a good opportunity for you to reach out to those coaches and just say, hey, if I'm interested in coming to your school, what is the next step in the process? What do I need to do next? What do you need from me? And I think that would be really good for all the underclassmen to do right now as well.
Well, and that's a good point. I think what we wanted to do on this podcast, we're not looking to reiterate what we had done in the last podcast about what the college was, and we had Ray on here, Hugh's son as well. And we'll do some more of those down the road to try and keep you up to date with information and what the experiences are, and maybe even, Ray's his son now looking for other options. Now he's come into his last year of junior college. So we'll go into that at a different time. What we want to talk about now is, what did we learn? What feedback did we get that we can make this a better opportunity for our kids and our community and families to be able to build upon for next year, or even if we do it twice a year. So that's what we're going to talk about now is the things that we learned just as individuals on how to make it better. So the first thing, of course, we went to the coaches and asked them. Hugh gone afterwards and put a survey out, or a survey monthly or whatever. But before we did that, we literally asked them, how can we make this better for you? How can we make this a better experience for you? And then we did the same when I was walking around talking to parents. I know Hugh was. How can we make this a better experience for you? What's a great experience right now? So let's start from the beginning there. And I'm hoping it's not going to be jagged on the way, but we'll go in some kind of order. So looking at the parent side, we'll evaluate what we did and what we can do afterwards. But let's come at some of the points that were brought from the parents that were good and what they were looking for moving forward. Now, in most cases, I don't know what you heard, but I had a lot of positives coming from the parents about how intimate it was in terms of it wasn't 400 people there. The coaches were very friendly. It was coach-led. They were very excited about that. And really, the great job you did afterwards, where they got to talk to the coaches, even the parents got to talk to coaches, they were blown away with that. They thought that was the best program and easiest thing they've come to, like the most approachable. There was no barriers.
Right.
What did you get from some of the parents that you had spoken to, or even the kids?
A couple of the parents were just thought it was a very good opportunity for a lot of these kids. That one coach or one dad told me that without something like this, a lot of these kids wouldn't have an opportunity to be in front of a coach, and that's kind of what we set out to do. And hearing that made me feel really good.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
Yeah.
So that was the main ones from the parents.
Yeah.
Were they heard that stuck out?
No, there was two dads that really pretty much said the same thing. I mean, it was pretty close to the same information, but they thought it was great. They
I think they're the same dads that I probably spoke to.
Possibly.
So I've got a couple of parents that are on my 01 boys team, and again, they're at the age now, juniors going to seniors. I had 4 seniors on that team. It's just the same as when Ray was with us, just trying to put stuff in front of people to give them opportunities. It's very hard to take care of every single one because each kid, as we had talked about in the last podcast, each kid is on a different path, a different journey. They may be putting effort in, not effort in, etc., etc. So this was really to put out there for people to join on. But I heard from them, if it wasn't putting that on, they don't feel there's anything else put on as close for that. And again, remember, $35. That's the key here. It wasn't like we were trying to, trying to make this an event that's going to make money. This was literally to cover the rental. And I don't even think we covered the rental in the end of the fields. Yeah. I'm cool with it. We got everything covered in terms of getting those kids to those coaches. And I know one player in particular came and got to talk to the Paul Quinn, and they're actually on a visit this week. So I'm super proud, super proud of him, and that came from that night, that day. So I'm pretty stoked about that. So let's go now to the coaches, because that was a little bit more in depth.
Yes.
So I'll let you start with the coaching.
So I think we took some time after the combine and sat down with all the coaches and took some notes on what they liked, what they didn't like, what can we do next time to make this a better experience, to get the most out of it. And there was several ideas. I think one idea is they want to have different color-coded pennies so they can identify seniors from underclassmen. They want to have...
Well, let me build upon that, because that's a good point. I think we can expand upon that. So when the players came in, we gave them T-shirts, and they all went out there, but there was no recognition, I guess, between what a senior was and a junior, and it had to take time to go through it. So we also learned that although we had it for juniors and seniors, because that was kind of our market to go on to, now that we're going to do different colours for a junior and a senior, I think it's also important that the coaches are telling us, hey, open it up for the sophomores. And even the freshmen at some point. We can do them in different times, but open it up for them because they're making lists ready for that junior and senior. So that was something that we had failed upon for sure. Well, not failed, that's the wrong word. We, in our mind, thought this event was going to be separated because we were going to be for the juniors and the seniors. Right. But the coaches are looking for a longer-term picture as well, because they're revolving around.
They're already starting their little network, right?
Yeah.
And they're already building up their file.
So we will be adding that in. And now, again, I feel bad. I've got a whole sophomore team that should have been there, and that's on us now. So we'll make sure we fix that going forward. So sorry about that. I want to interrupt and just expand upon that one there.
Trying to think. I don't have my list in front of me.
That's okay. So I think some of the other things the coaches said, one of the things, they like the coach-led. I think they want a leader out of their coaches, but that's going to be on them, and we can decide who that's going to be. But they like the idea of being coach-led and then go through really the principles of play. They'll have a possession type striking and then a defending scenario, and they can break up the sessions through there. So we'll get a better glimpse at each phase of the game for these players to do their job. So that was another thing. There was a couple of mentions about the timing and the date. Now, we are past that February letter of intent day. In the bigger scheme of things, we were obviously trying to get this off the ground and make it an option for people in the community to come to if they've missed the letter of intent, or those players that they're waiting for that coach to knock on the door and they never did. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I left high and dry. Now, it was brought to our attention that maybe a summer one would be good at the same time, and the reasoning for that is they get to see the new classmen coming in for the next year, and they get any of those kids that got let down last minute. I say let down, they just didn't get what they wanted, and now they're kind of in a bit of a limbo situation. Right. So I think this event and this project is always going to be based upon being after the letter of intent day, but we aren't going to be so late in the March, because we had issues with our local leagues for the high school ages, which is what we're after, being games. They had games. I was at a game. I got scheduled a game. When we made this up, when we put the date forward, I never had that game selected, so I wasn't even there for the first section. So we're going to bring that forward so we don't hit any of the showcase, which will be the FC Dallas showcase in our area, is around that date. We're going to make sure we're not hitting spring break, either side of free break, and we're not going to make it late in March that will end up conflicting with the local leagues when you've got to take care of your local league play. So we're going to be looking at that. So we're really thinking for next year. We're thinking beginning of March time.
End of February, beginning of March is what we talked about. Yeah.
And that way we're not getting in the way of any of the showcases that are in around this area, and we're still catching the same coaches. Weather would be an issue, but if we're using the beautiful Gateway Park, I don't think it's going to cause too much of an issue there. Yeah. So they were the main points I picked up upon and what the coaches were doing. There's, of course, little other things that each individual would have wanted as a wish list, and you're going to get that. And we're going to do as much as we can to accommodate it. But overall, I felt being there, I felt really warm inside, and I felt that we're doing a good job, because I did feel there was a connection there, and I did get a lot of feedback from the parents to say, you know what, if you hadn't done this, we wouldn't have had another opportunity. So I would like to thank all the other clubs and the other kids that play for other clubs to come out, because again, it's the bigger picture. It's not just about Storm. It's about all of those kids in our area that haven't had the option or the opportunity, or maybe not even knowing how to get out there and have a look and see what they really want, because every kid's different, every family's different. At the best of intentions, life rolls on. Right. So is there anything to it tonight?
Well, some of the things I learned from the Survey Monkey was that a lot of these kids that showed up last minute, most of those kids were recommended to come from their high school coach. So, shout out to all the high school coaches out there. Word of mouth is pretty big.
I think the disappointing part on all of that, great that the high school coaches were appointed, but it was last minute. Everything was last minute. It seemed we had to put it out, and we'd spent a lot of time putting it out, and we even done the podcasting, and we put that out, and we paid to put that out. And I think overall, for kids to sign up Thursday and Friday was a bit of a, we're going to put it on regardless, but it was a panic, because trying to get these coaches all coming in from...
Relieved and disappointed at the same time, if you will, right? It just makes it a lot better for somebody that's organizing something to have, how many people are going to show up, and, we're always glad to take those last minute, people that want to decide at the last minute, that's even better. But, when you're trying to plan something, it's like trying to, plan a wedding and nobody RSVPs, and you got,
Well, and it could be. I mean, on the boys' side there, we had 39, and we were going to say we're maxing out at 44 just to make sure we had two fields there that could play 11v11 with no subs, right? Mm-hmm. But in the bigger scheme of things, if there was more that had turned up late, we might not have been able to let them in. I mean, we're not going to be like that. But
I would let them in.
We don't want to get to that point where we haven't got enough field space, and what we're trying to put across for this event gets thrown out the window because we're
as long as it's a manageable number, right? I mean,
that's
we want everybody to have an opportunity and be seen.
So anything else from the Survey Monkey before we go to some of the things I was talking to the parents about?
No, it's pretty much the same. We had most of all the points were really good. Everybody seemed to like it. A couple of little wish list things, like you said, but only had one person that just didn't enjoy it and thought it was a waste of time. So out of all the ones that we got back, that was only one. So I can,
for $35,
can't make everybody happy, right?
No, that's true. But, so we'll feedback on that one. So So there was a parent I spent a fair amount of time with, and actually I will probably cover a little bit of what we did in the last podcast, but expand upon it with more information. So one of the questions came up to me, in fact, at the last podcast we brought it up. It was brought to me at the next level, and literally I just spoke to 2 parents on my boys' team on Tuesday. So I'm just going to give you the story that I've been giving them. Now, you have to remember, I didn't grow up in the United States. I haven't been to college. I did go to get UNT to get one of my visas to satisfy my visa, the degree program, but I didn't play. So one of the things I want to make sure you know is this is from experience and from talking to people and having friends that are in coaches that are in college. It's not because I went through college here to play soccer. So I want to make sure I'm completely clear on that. But one of the questions was what do you, actually what they asked me was, what do you recommend? Junior college or a 4-year college? So talking to both sets of parents and the ones at the event, I don't really recommend either or. I think it's going to be down to the individual of what they want to do, based upon a couple of things. What do you want to be when you get out of college? What do you intend to be as a job? Where do you want to be in terms of living? Do you want to be close to home, not home? So all of those things are individual. But what I can say is this: the first question I ask on most of these kids, what do you want to be? So I was talking to, I'm not going to tell you their names, but they want to be a physical therapist. So she has a dream school that she wants to go to that's probably going to end up costing them 50, 60,000, 4-year college. Now, what I was saying at that point was, that's fantastic that you want to go to that 4-year dream college, but you want to be a physical therapist. What is the top dollar that you would have to pay or get paid to be a physical therapist? Now look, what would it be to be an entry physical therapist for sports? I would argue that if you went to your dream school and paid that kind of money and had a loan at the end of it, that on top of that you want to buy a car, you might end up finding somebody and getting married and have to buy a house at some point, because let's be honest, your loan is going to be like a mortgage. You could effectively price yourself out of the degree of the job that the degree you try getting. What I mean by that is, if you've got to pay a house bill, you've got to pay food, gas, you still got to pay to live, right? You've got to get a house with car, you might pay that by cash, or you might have to put a loan out on that because you can't afford to buy a car right off the bat. And then you still have a dream school loan bill to pay. I'm not sure you can take that entry-level job. You might have to do something you didn't want to do to live. And I think that really is the biggest. If I was to talk to anybody, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, if you're going to be an engineer, if you're going to be any of those things where there's an entry level and you've done your math, you know what it's going to cost for 4 years to go to a 4-year college, that you're not outpricing yourself when you want to get that job after you've come out of college with a debt, then maybe 2 years in a junior college is the way to go. It's a lot cheaper. You go to your dream school in the last 2 years, and you haven't got the huge debt burden that when you go to get your first job, you're not priced out of that job. You can't go to the interview and think to yourself, well, even if I got the job, I need to get a second job just to pay off some of these other bills. So that really was a conversation I had. And again, that's not to turn around and say, don't go to your dream school. If I was here, I know which school I want to go to, and I'd probably aim to go to that school. But I'm a soccer coach, so let me go with a little bit of my story. You know, I'm a soccer coach. I want to be a soccer coach. I grew up in England. I was going through my teenage years and early 20s to be a coach. That was what I wanted to be. So when I'm going to college, I had to make sure I went to a college, that I was paying for everything myself. So I had to get my loans myself. I had to get work myself. I had no help at all outside of that. So when we talk about going to a college, I went to a small college where it was manageable to come out, where when I went to the States and I could start coaching, I didn't have to coach and get another job or a third job or a fourth job to be able to help me coach. I could put all of my effort and all of my energy into coaching, because I never had a bill to pay or a high loan to pay or anything else when I came to the end of it. If I didn't, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be here in front of you now. I wouldn't be doing this with Hugh. I would never have met Hugh. So the choice I made, yes, did I want to go to a big school? Did I want to go to Liverpool St John's? Absolutely. But I ended up going to the college I went to because it was better for a cost to live there. I could find a couple of jobs to go through my college. I could work for the local club, which was Argyle at the time. I could still continue my development as a soccer coach in that area. And I came out of a 3-year program with a dissertation, with honours, that allowed me to get a visa to come to the United States. And here I am now 20 years later. So for that, that's my story. If I wanted to be something other than a soccer coach that pays more, I don't know if I would have gone to that college. Maybe I would have gone to another one. As it happens, I enjoyed my entire time at the college I was at, and it's very small. I tell some of the kids, when I graduated, it was a very small class, very small class. Mm-hmm. Some of the classes I went to had 2 people in it, so it was a very small class. But that was my story, and that was what I was just talking to the parents about. And I want to make sure that any coaches are watching this, man, I want them to go to a 4-year school or a junior college school. It doesn't matter to me as long as they're getting an education and they're getting to play. And I think that for me is the key point, and that for me is why I'm doing this, to make sure they go ahead. So I want to, again, I'm not saying either or, but there are stories there to try and give more context to a decision that you need to make. Absolutely. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Did you have anything else to add to that? That was just a story I gave out to the families based on my life.
Well, one comment I had was, if I went to a junior college, I would be sacrificing my education to play soccer. And, I don't know if I completely agree with that either, because in the state of Texas, if you go to a community school or a junior college, if you will, state law says that all those classes will transfer to a 4-year state school. So if you're taking math, English, history, and science at a junior college, it even has the same course number as it would at Texas A&M or UT or any of those other state schools. Now, if you're going to transfer to a private school like SMU or TCU or UMHB or any of those other private schools, they don't necessarily have to abide by those same guidelines, because they're not funded by the state like some of those, like the state schools. So, if you're taking the same course with the same course number, math is math, right? English is English. I don't understand how there's not going to be a terrible difference between one and the other at a 4-year school or a 2-year school. So, again, it's up to the individual. What opportunities are in front of you. What your goal in life is, what your goal of going to school is, all those things. Your financial situation definitely plays a huge factor in what opportunities are available to you. So, there's the wrong answer, like you said. It's up to the individual and what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish. And we touched on this last time, but if you go to,
we're doing overrun it, but I think what we're trying to say is, you might have heard us talking about the junior college, but that is a lot of questions we are getting, the junior college versus the 4-year. And don't think we're on the side that we're trying to get people to go to junior college. What we're trying to do is, I think the junior colleges get a bad rap, or they have a misinterpretation about what they are. What we're trying to give is more of a broad scope. Hey, don't count them out, because I'm going to put that other video that we recorded, again with the bad audio, we'll figure out how to get that to you. But the constant theme I was hearing there was some of the junior college coaches saying, I'm getting you to the school you want, so you're playing decent, good level soccer in that next 4-year college. They're going to get you there. The education, they're going to come out. But, I was hearing a number being thrown out there. I heard from one coach, threw the number out, $6,750, books, lodging, food, and your first year, everything in, first year for junior college. Do that for 2 years, and then he's getting you. He wants to make sure his program's looking good, or her program's going to be good, by sending you and getting you to some of the top programs in the 4-year. So that wraps up today's podcast. I hope you had some information there that could go forward. We are planning on doing it again. I don't know about the summer one right now. I'm thinking we're going to be doing it next February, which is a while away, but we want to make sure it's in people's minds and people's faces. Make sure you comment down below, ask questions down below. What are you thinking about? Have you had experiences at junior college? Have you experienced your 4-year college? Which one do you get? Everybody's story is different and everybody's need is different. So I want to make sure that we hear all those stories out there. Again, check out the comments for the link that we'll put in. Either I'm going to put that short video that we had from the girls program where the coaches were talking. I'll either add it to this podcast. The audio is not so great, so I may just make it its own individual and video. And what I'll do is I'll link that down below in the comments as well. If you haven't liked our StormFC TV YouTube page, please go ahead and like it. Go and subscribe to it. We're trying to put out information for all of you to benefit the broad scope of soccer. Again, we're adding to the things we're going to be doing in the summer with some of the skills work, and help players learn how to do some foot skills and some ball mastery and all that kind of stuff. I've also got a couple of people I've talked to that I'm hoping to bring in to do a couple of more podcasts, and we'll expand about the podcast as well. So we're not talking, it'll be different subjects each time we come in. If you haven't watched the one with Paddy, which is our episode before this one, I recommend it is a bit long, but I recommend watching that. He's going to be doing a lot more podcasting for us, and we're going to try and keep it down to 15-20 minutes for those podcasters so they're bite-sized about each subject he wants to talk about. But anyway, thank you, Hugh, for coming in. Great to see you again. Appreciate you watching. Peace out.